Hello and welcome. I'm Zillur Rahman, and today I want to talk about two stories that look separate but are actually intertwined. Bangladesh police contingent being told to return from the UN mission in Congo, and our country's age-old struggle to turn political promises into real working institutions. One is about lost ground abroad, and the other about fragile ground at home. Together, they tell us where we stand and what we need to do next. Let's start with the facts we have. Bangladesh's last remaining UN police unit in the Democratic Republic of Congo, 180 officers, including 70 women, has been instructed to come home by November. Barely weeks after starting duty in Kinshasa. Local and international reports attribute this to a sharp, system-wide downsizing as the UN copes with a funding crunch and arrears from major contributors. In the first week of October, multiple outlets reported that UN peacekeeping is preparing to cut roughly a quarter of uniformed personnel, some 14,000 troops and police across missions. Senior UN peacekeeping officials have simultaneously been touring field operations, warning of financial constraints affecting patrols, mandate delivery, and repatriations. For Bangladeshis who grew up proud of our blue helmet record that stings our police first deployed in 1989. Since then, tens of thousands of our officers have served with distinction around the world. That's part of our global identity. So when an entire unit is told to stand down and head home, the practical explanation downsizing doesn't erase the emotional and reputational blow. Bangladeshi outlets underscored that this was our only remaining police contingent abroad, and that the recall includes a large number of women officers who are often the face of community reassurance in difficult environments. Here is a bigger frame. UN peacekeeping's annual budget for 2024-2025 is about $5.6 billion, an 8% drop from the previous year, with the United States still assessed as the largest payer at just over 26% of the total, followed by China and Japan. In 2025, the UN system has been open about its cash flow problems. Delayed or reduced payments from big members feed a liquidity crisis, which then ripples into the field as fewer patrols, closed offices, and yes, repatriations. None of that is aimed especially at Bangladesh, but it does mean that countries with less diplomatic muscle inside the UN peacekeeping pipeline can be first to fill the cart. Now, there is a fair question people are asking. If the cut is global, why did a whole Bangladeshi unit get hit at once? The truth is that drawdowns are never purely mathematical. They are shaped by mission-specific threat assessments, internal performance reviews, the host government's performances, the politics around a specific mission's exit timeline, and let's be blunt, relationships. The Congo mission has been on an accelerated drawdown path, and recent political steps in the DRC and the region are pushing the UN further toward a leaner, time-bound presence. In a moment when everything is shrinking, the countries that stay are often the ones that are more deeply woven into the mission's short-term needs, or whose continued presence helps stabilize a delicate political bargain. That's not an indictment. It's a reminder in peacekeeping readiness and relationships are strategic assets. So, what do we do? The three practical things. First, we re-engage methodically at every rung of the peacekeeping ladder: political, New York and capitals; operational, the Department of Peace Operations and Mission Leadership; and technical, the force and police generation terms. If the UN is trimming everywhere, our goal is to be part of the minimum essential rather than the easiest to cut. That means constant liaison, rapid responsiveness to mission specific asks, and demonstrable value on community policing, protection, and gender responsive engagement, areas where Bangladeshi units often excel. Second, we work at the troop, police contributing countries, Caucasus herder, cuts are never exactly proportional, influence matters, coordinating with like-minded contributors to present integrated, cost-effective packages. Say, a pool is formed until with bilingual investigation capacity or a fast deployable public order module can shift outcomes at the margin. In a 25% cut environment, margins decide who says. Third, we protect the brand at home. If the world sees our policing institutions as professional, rights respecting, and public facing, the case to keep Bangladeshi police in sensitive missions is stronger. The UN's vetting standards are strict, and reputational risk travels fast. Investing in training, compliance, and accountability isn't just domestic housekeeping, it's international positioning. Now, let me pivot to what's happening inside Bangladesh. Because the logic of reputation, of relationships, and follow through is the thread connection, both stories. We have a new July Charter, a political commitment forged after a mass uprising, built as the blueprint for reforms and reset. But you and I have seen this movie before. Bangladesh has a long history of crafting worthy frameworks that then stall. The Teen Joter Rupreka of late 1990 set out a democratic transition. The 1991 task forces under Justice Shahabuddin Ahmed's interim government gathered first-rate recommendations. The 2007-2009 Regulatory Reforms Commission proposed 153 reforms to modernize the state. Each time, the documents were impressive. Each time, implementation wilted under political heat, turmoil, or the next crisis. The graveyard of our good intentions is crowded. That's the risk the July Charter must overcome. It's different in one important sense. It emerged after extensive dialogues across parties and, at least in principle, found points of agreement on chronic problem areas. That should give it more political oxygen than a purely technocratic roadmap, but that advantage won't last without deadlines, deliverables, and the kind of institutional muscle that keeps reform on track when politics gets messy. There is also a very specific debate that will shape whether the Charter builds trust or breeds it. Language around indemnity and accountability for violence cladding during the uprising. If the country slides into blanket immunity for some and selective prosecution for others, we will simply be planting the seeds for the next cycle of revenge. Senior jurists have already flagged that sweeping indemnities are constitutionally and morally fraught. Rights advocates warn they create new fault lines. History says the same indemnities granted in one season of political convenience often collapse in another, bringing back the very cases we tried to bury and with higher political costs. The smarter route is targeted, transparent justice with due process and clear criteria, plus a victim support that treats all victims as citizens, not factions. So, how do we stop the July Charter from joining that graveyard? Again, three practical things. First, publish a time-bound public implementation matrix, articles, lead agencies, milestones, and dates. If we can see the ladder, we can climb it. If we can't, we'll keep debating the shape of the ladder while standing still. Second, build a small but empowered delivery unit that reports to an all-party steering committee and issues monthly scorecards. Keep it boring and relentless. What's done, what's delayed, why, and what help is needed. Bureaucracies don't move because we exert them. They move because someone owns the handoffs. Third, include the most sensitive reforms in processes that can survive a change of government. That means independent secretariats, multi-year funding, bipartisan oversight in parliament, and civil society watchdogs with guaranteed access to data. Reforms with shallow roots die at the first gust of politics. If you are noticing the echo, you are right. The same logic that protects Bangladesh's place in UN peacekeeping, competence, credibility, and consistent relationships also protects the July Charter at home. In New York, that logic buys us a seat that survives the cuts. In Dhaka, it turns a document into a working machine. Let me add one more layer. There is a reputational economy around Bangladesh right now, and it's unusually sensitive. Internationally, donors and multilateral bodies are hedging, budgets are tighter, scrutiny is higher, patience is shorter. Domestically, citizens are impatient for visible progress, safer streets, cleaner institutions, fairer rules. That means our stories travel quickly in both directions. A clean, well-run police deployment abroad helps our case for investment and partnership at home. A clean, well-run reform process at home helps our case for being trusted abroad. Conversely, when we stumble in one area, the cost shows up in the other. So, where does that leave us? On peacekeeping, we regroup, re-engage, and rebuild our case. In New York, in mission headquarters, and in the field, we lean into what we do best. We keep our units exemplary, and we treat every interaction as reputational capital that compounds. On the July Charter, we stop congratulating ourselves for signing a document and start measuring ourselves by what moves in the next 30, 60, and 180 days. The work is not romantic. Procurement rules, police training curricula, selection criteria for watchdog bodies, case management systems in the courts, civil service postings that reward competence over patronage. That's what Charter live or die. Let me end simply. Bangladesh police recall from Congo is a warning light, not a verdict. The July Charter is an opportunity, not a guarantee. In both areas, the question is the same. Can we do the unglamorous work that earns trust? If the answer is yes, steadily, miserably, and publicly, then we will find our place abroad and our balance at home. I'm Zillur Rahman. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.